There is a place where the lost embers go. As their light begins to fade, Ember ran, because standing still the wall glistened. The painting showed embers on a sacred journey. The painting showed embers on a sacred journey. Ember felt so afraid and alone that it was a relief to find someone to talk to. Ember froze, almost too frightened when they noticed a small satchel. The satchel felt heavy. The statue shone brightly in the light. There was a symbol on the floor. There was a symbol on the floor. Ember noticed something wrong. There was a round space where something used to fit. To Ember's delight, the golden statue slid perfectly into place. Ember left, feeling sorry for the stranger now alone in the dark. The stairway opened into a dark forest. Ember could feel fear taking over. They'd washed up alone, somewhere very unfamiliar. Ember felt like they were being watched. The path was blocked. As Ember approached, the flames seemed to call out. With a feeling like falling, the forest had slipped away. Ember felt lost in darkness and ruin. The caged flame stoked new hope in Ember. Hope was almost within reach. The flame spoke and Ember listened. The flame lingered ahead. Was it trying to escape? Or leading the way? The campfire flickered into life. The ghost spoke. Hope has returned to a forlorn. I will warm them until they choose. Ember looked to the ghost for answers. This is a place between places to travel through as your light fades, but none have passed on in a long time. The Forest King now holds us here, and those who linger will turn forlorn. Again that word, forlorn. The forlorn are those who lost their way along the path. If you find them, send them to me and I will guide them. I am just a guide along. So many lost embers have I seen. Ember thought of those they loved, those they'd left behind. There are others lost. Find them and I will guide them. The Forest King watches the campfire will light. Find those who are lost. Bring embers to the fire. Step backwards, little Ember. Look behind. Upon a small grassy cliff rests a forlorn. The old gate was locked. The crow held its shining trophy tight. The stranger whispered, "I've never felt that. What does it feel like? Is it nice? It sounds nice." key was nestled, but it was just out of reach. Inside was a scrap of journal. The strangers on the water went on without me. Where have I landed? Vines and thorns stretch out to trip me. The stranger shivered in the cold. Warmth was a distant memory, stolen by the passing miles. They'd moved through such dark places. They lay down and closed their eyes. The stranger blinked at Ember. Is it morning already? How long have I been asleep? The stranger blinked at Ember. Is it morning already? How long have I been asleep? The broken net hung ominously around the skeleton's neck. The door was sealed shut. The key was nestled between the reeds, but it was just out of reach. key was but it was just out of reach. The stranger whispered. I've never felt that. What does it feel like? Is it nice? It sounds nice. Barely visible and on a small pier with barely a sound, a lonely fisherman sat. The stranger was trapped, caught in a maze. It was hard to make sense of this place. trail just kept on closing. The stranger's voice was hoarse. I just need some time, I think, to see things clearly. The Ember was curious. I'm headed for the... I've heard there's a nest there. A safe place. The fisherman murmured quietly between sorrowful breaths. The fisherman felt so useless. His former joys were hollow. Sitting out there every day by the pond, only the dark water to hear him talk. In that darkness, a glimmer flickered. A thought beating like a drum. A thought that went round and round. It all started with a frog. Every day by the pond, a constant reminder. For a brief moment, the fisherman struggled to speak. He looked at Ember, hopeful. The fisherman spoke softly, There's a frog in that pond, a big one. Saw him grow from a tadpole. We were friends of a sort. Spent every day side by side. So much better at fishing than me, that frog is. Catches them before I can bait them. Oh, it makes me feel useless some days. The fisherman sighed. I've wasted so much. The old man looked carefully at the pond, at their rod. Well, listen to me here rambling on. It helps though, telling someone. Thank you, Ember. If you need help catching anything, you just ask. The traveler said, "You sailed in here. Where's your boat?" "Friend, you need a boat. Go see the builder in the caves. Tell them I'm sorry I never came back." The stranger had blazed their own path. Created their own rock, their own islands. They did not need Ember's kindness. But still, Ember stayed. Building a bridge should it ever be needed. The stranger met Ember's eyes. The two shared a moment of silence. The stranger met Ember's eyes. The two shared a moment of silence. The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. Its eyes were fixed on Ember, but it seemed to me no harm. Was this the frog that the fisherman's Ember could hardly ignore the rumbling from the frog's belly? You saw the frog. You asked the frog. Actually, please don't tell the frog how much I talk about them. The fisherman noticed the broken net Ember was carrying. Let me have a look. See what I can do. With a silk thread, the fisherman carefully knotted it together. With each knot he tied, a net began to... Here you go. Good as new.
Oh my god.
The traveler spoke. I miss a good roast frog. Oh, how they crackle. The stranger had been forgotten. They tried to follow as best they could. But no one heard them when they fell behind. The stranger looked at Ember with surprise. Someone came back for me. Thank you. The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. Its eyes were... Was this the frog? Ember could hardly ignore the rumbling from the frog's belly. The key was nestled between the but it was just out of reach. The old gate was locked. Ember placed the key in the lock and slowly began to turn it. Stranger gasped for breath. Dark water slipping above their head. didn't care if they sank or swam. Slowly the tides ebbed, washing over old walls. A safe harbor emerging from the inky depths. Ember reached out a hand. The stranger looked down. The ground feels good beneath my feet, friend. The worm looked helpless, as Ember picked it up, the worm let out a little yelp. The Wanderer's Diary. Unfamiliar trees, a path overgrown. Is this a resting place? A place between places? I call out, but mine is the only voice. The frog stared at Ember, its belly rumbling. This was not how Ember had imagined the end. The gurgling of water, a deafening heartbeat. But then... the fog returned Ember's good deed by leading them to a lost forlorn. The stranger stood alone. Their friends have fallen aside, retreating from what came next. The stranger had ventured on. Now they were deep in the woods. It felt so pointless. The stranger spoke hesitantly. Is the campfire crowded? Let me gather myself. I'll see you there. Ember found the Wanderer's diary. The oily smell of frogs. They know more than they will say. They watch me watching them. The ghost said, "You have done all you can, little one. Your journey lies ahead." Little one, your journey ahead will not be easy. The path to leave this place is blocked. I will guide others to follow after you clear the way. There are others like me who can help. You will always be welcome here in the forest. The stranger spoke. My head fills with tears, the stranger said. I had forgotten what warmth, the stranger said thoughtfully. I felt so alone. I was so lost. Once again, Ember could feel eyes watching. Ember approached the forlorn. It felt it was different. They said, I know what I need to do. I don't want to be helped. Ember could not help. Not all problems were puzzles to be solved. Ember uncovered a journal entry. Dusk brings the longest shadows. The lanthorn comforts me. Soft melodies from home. The wild things listen. Yellow eyes in graying trees. The guard squawked. Stand back, don't come any. The guard was protecting a path down between the rocks. Nothing down there but sad. Go see the Forest King. He'll set you straight. The Forest King showed me the way. You'll see there's no need to keep going. He'll make a bird of you. Go get your feathers. Do you know where I've been walking forever, lost in the marsh? The two travelers were talking quite. Yeah, I got so lost. I go anywhere. Yeah. The birds scare me though. The guard joked. Another scrawny Ember, and with a bag looking all nicely, both guards started looking at Ember with a deathly stare. The guard leered. The Forest King would like you, little scrub. Yes, come a little closer. Let us see what's in that bag. We guard the door to the forest. Oh yes, we decide who gets to see the king. The Forest King will want to see you. Yes, come this way. A feeling of foreboding overcame Ember. Ember was terrified but tried not to show it. The giant bird spoke softly. Another little do not fear. The bird is a friend. Ember wanted to feel safe. Oh, little Ember, birds won't hurt you. Birds will take another under our wing. Stay safe in the nest, you'll never turn forlorn. Ember was still afraid. Is it the night that scares you, little one? See, night is gone. Day is here. Birds will make the world less frightening. It wasn't only the night that frightened Ember. The bird was disappointed. Hope is false. Hope hurts little ones in the end. The Forest King spoke so perhaps they could rest here. It was hard to know what else to say. Clever little Ember. You will stay. Search for hope no more. Now take this feather. Feather means Ember is one up. Birds keep little. Birds should never leave the nest. The guard seemed pleased. Clem, I can hold that. Leave him alone. Yeah, one of us. And we all shares bags and things. Ember approached the forlorn. They said, I don't want. Ember could not help. Not all problems were puzzles to be solved. ghost said, "You have done all you can, little one. Your journey lies ahead." The guard squawked. "Stand back, don't come any closer. Nothing down there. Go see the Forest King. He'll set you straight." Got your first feather, I see. Best prove yourself. Stand watch here. Promise you won't let anyone pass. Ember didn't like deceiving the birds. But what choice did they have? They couldn't rest in that place forever. They had... This forlorn was not the same as the others. The forlorn whispered, "I may never be the future is, but mine is mine." Ember left the forlorn with their thoughts. The time wasn't right, perhaps would never be. Ember hurried away from the birds. The mist hung close to Ember, hiding them. The Forest King seemed frightened, the birds cruel. Ember would rather risk turning forlorn than become like them. Ahead there would be others. The traveler seemed distressed. "But it's been a while. It's my fault." The traveler whispered quietly, "No matter where I go, no matter where I go, always here." It looked like a map, but pieces were missing. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. Hidden away was a scrap of journal. There were memories here, bound in rock. I hear their voices echo in the ancient stone. I find footprints by the cinders, a makeshift camp. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. The piece formed a new route. It was the same place as before. But how? An eerie scene, like a moment frozen in time. Ember found a scrap of journal. I heard them coming. The snap of a twig, a flutter of birds. A figure dashing through the undergrowth. Another like me? Gradually, more of the map was revealed. A section of bridge had somehow been ripped from its foundations. It was like the map had been broken on purpose. The mist revealed a secret place. Was it hidden on purpose? skeleton looked peaceful. Held tightly in its hand was a red feather. The statue spoke, just as it once moved the hearts of the forlorn. The instrument you now hold has the power to move the world around you, another before you, to great effort to hide it deep within this riddle. The lanthorn began to glow. Hidden inside was the Wanderer's journal. Another face at last. A catcher of fish resting by a pond. We worked together, silk and tar and aching fingers. My boat floats. There was one last place to reach on the map. The fog was so blinding, Ember was turned around. Ember felt a great relief to be out of the mist. The way through was muffled by the fog. Could that have been a tremendous snow? Ember didn't mind getting muddy. The slide was such fun. A sleeping pig. They looked happy. The plant looked like it could, and it was in Ember's way. The fruit was giving off a sickly sweet smell. The plant looked like it could, and it was in Ember's way. Plant, and it was in Ember's way. Ember chuckled. The dangerous plant was no match for a hungry piggy. A hideous odor filled the air. And suddenly, the reason was obvious. pig inhaled a giant snort of air. Wait, what's that delicious smell? Ember shuffled nervous. Other embers fed me treat, but then stopped. You feed me now. Ember came upon another campfire lost in the wilderness. It looked long cold. The ghost said, "Speak and I will listen." This is the here hope was consumed before it could flourish. You must not lose hope, or you too will turn. Ember thought of those they loved, those they'd left behind. The forest, the campfire will find those who are lost. Bring embers to the fire. Travel wisely. Return if you have lost your way. The skull was disgusting. Perhaps the pig would like it. The stranger had come so very far. They felt the air beneath them, the distance ever widening. It was such a long way down. A resolve stirred within the stranger. Just a few more steps,